Hi there, I'm Bill Warner with Onterdot. Over the last several weeks, I have run into many situations where I'm working with someone who has a need for professional services. And I often have to explain in quite lengthy manner what it's all about. And the subject of professional services methodologies comes to the table. And I find myself having to explain that. So I thought I'd put up a video that introduces this subject, if you're not already familiar with it, in a manner that's a little bit more in depth and gives you a feel for how important services methodologies are. So that's what we're going to do in this video. But before we start, I do urge you again to take a look at the Onterdot YouTube channel, and particularly the playlist on perspectives on entrepreneurship. You'll find this video there, and the title of it is Professional Services Methodology Development. Please join us there, subscribe, and you'll get to see all the videos. You'll be notified of them when I publish them on YouTube. And there's a lot of other resources there. Check out all of the playlists. I bet you'll find one that's going to help you as well. So let's get on with methodologies, though. That's the subject of this video. So what the heck are these things? What are services methodologies? It's a simple, gang. A methodology is simply a way to describe how you're going to perform a service in some detail. When you put together a software product, you explain in detail what it does as a product, right? And when you have intellectual property like software and hardware, you had to describe how you're going to get it developed. Well, a methodology for services is simply a description of how you're going to go about performing these services for your customers. It's describing your method of deployment. Think of it that way. And you also think of it as actually it is intellectual property. You've got software, intellectual property, maybe you've patented some of it. You have hardware. You may have biotechnology innovations that represent your intellectual property. Whatever they are, you should think of your services as a form of intellectual property as well, particularly from the point of view of protecting it. More important than that, you're not going to patent a services methodology, but you are going to protect it. Make sure you do, because it's part of your secret sauce. So methodologies are really a way of describing how you're going to fulfill the needs of your customers, step by step. And it is a deployment of the core competency of your people, your team, whether they're employees, whether they're service providers that you bring in on a case-by-case, opportunity-by-opportunity basis. Whatever the core competencies are, they are the ones that are actually going to fulfill your methodology. So you've got to have some competent people. This is a revenue generating opportunity. You should think of it that way as well. So this is not something that you just kind of do as needed. This is a very deliberate approach on your part to deploy a core competency you have in various forms. And I'll cover a few of them in a minute as a few examples to illustrate what I mean. But it's basically deploying what you really know how to do. And you're writing it down so it becomes the template, if you will, for every services opportunity you ever had. You're going to follow this template that's describing your methodology. Let me give you some examples of opportunities that you may be confronted with today. One I know pretty well, and I'm working with several people on, are the data analytics opportunities that exist today that are emerging rapidly as people realize how much information they're collecting about their customers. Data analytics is an extraordinarily advanced discipline for the collection of information that has a lot to do with the preferences of customers and how they use products, how they use services. And this opportunity in data analytics is to compile that information in a form that is usable to improve process within a customer's organization, whether it be manufacturing, software development, hardware development, the list goes on, process improvements that can be made when you really know what's going on in a lot of depth and have a lot of data to substantiate it. There's also the opportunity to do data analytics on the behaviors and preferences of your customers. The compiling of that information can turn into all sorts of business opportunities that could further your own business as well as further the business of your customers, and introducing the ideas of all of the information that they collect about their customers becoming information in general that could be used in advertising. So the list goes on of data analytics opportunities. IT deployment is a pretty straightforward one. You've seen that for years. And all of the software and hardware assets that a company can bring to the table to provide the deployment of information technology in all sorts of markets and industries. That's a pretty straightforward one. But there are a lot of opportunities for further refinement of the process by which you do it. So you have a methodology for IT deployment. It looks very much like a development plan, doesn't it? Same for software development. I don't need to explain that further, but it goes kind of hand in hand with IT deployment. There's often lots of software involved in IT deployment, but all of these have assets that can be put to work. All of this stuff, though, just like any business opportunity, starts with a market need and that fact that you really understand it well. And in so doing, as we've discussed in a lot of other cases in developing a plan for your business or strategy for your business, it always starts with a market need. Same for services methodology opportunities. And then you take stock of what the market opportunity is and pull together the talent needed to serve those needs that you're trying to do. So you have people within your company, you have relationships with other companies, you have outside relationship with subcontract developers and analysts, whatever the skills are that you need, but you have a team of people inside and outside your company that you can utilize to go after these opportunities. You also have something I call assets, services assets. Now, I'm not selling you financial services here and anything like that. I'm just using the term assets to refer to software, tools, technologies, approaches that you have in your hip pocket within your company, quite frankly, that you want to protect, but you're going to utilize in every service deployment that you have in one way or another. In the case of data analysts, it's all sorts of interesting tools for how to derive information and get good solid information from a lot of disparate data that companies often have collected. So whatever these assets are, these are your assets which you protect and you're going to deploy as needed in every service deployment that you have. So part of your overall strategy in deploying professional services is to have a set of things that are unique to your company that represent your differentiation from anyone else that's going after the same kinds of opportunities you are. Now, here are some of the major implementation steps that you go through to develop this methodology for your professional services. This is a step-by-step process that you're going to go through. You're going to have a template that describes the things that you're going to do in order to, first of all, assess the needs of your customers. What are the problems that they're having? You've heard this before. What opportunities are they trying to chase that you possibly could help them with? And after that conversation, you then go through a step of defining the opportunities that you see for them that you can help them with that meet those needs. You've heard this before. This is always going back to the basics of we're going to fulfill the needs of our customers and we're going to figure out how to do it. In the case of the data analytics opportunities that I talked about earlier, let's stay with them a minute. You would then go through a process of determining what data is already available. And then once understanding that and the opportunities that lay ahead of you, what other data, what other information is needed in order to fulfill this opportunity? What you're looking for in this data analytics arena is a way to define a project to collect all that, but provide useful analysis of it and dashboards. It's often the term used that that portray all of this information in a understandable way, in a way that becomes effective in identifying problems, opportunities, and actions that can be taken upon observing deviations from what you expect. So data analytics can be put to work that way inside a company to improve their own efficiency. Data analytics can be put in place in such a way that additional information can be collected that create all sorts of other opportunities for your customer to turn these analytics into advertising opportunities, for example, because you have a gain and understanding about the preferences and habits of your customers. So that's a kind of a simple-minded approach for how you put together an implementation plan, but it's step by step. You have a schedule for all of these activities. There's a sequence of them. Key checkpoints are identified so you can report progress to your customer as you develop their project for data analytics in this example. And you identify the resources that are going to be needed by your company as well as theirs. You probably get down to the nitty gritty of naming certain kinds of individuals, but certainly kind of skilled people that you're going to need within your customer's company. Establish the milestones that are going to be achieved and when across this schedule, and then add it all up and determine what resources you're going to need to execute so you can determine what fees that you're going to be charging for this service for your customer. So that's kind of the implementation plan of all this. So at the end of it all, you identify these opportunities, you assess the capabilities that you have and what your customer has, develop the services strategy for them, create the methodology based upon your own methodology for how you're going to go about this, and make it an integrated part of your business in operating in this manner. And with that, and the implementation plans that go with it, you're going to have a really great day many days over.